Okay, everybody, well, let's get it rolling. This is the Lone Star Cajun Podcast, episode number 5. Welcome from wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, whatever planet you're on, whatever you're doing, whether you're at work and you're listening on Anchor, whether you're at home and you're watching our YouTube feed, the video feed, wherever you are. I hope you're having a great day. And I'm having a great day as always. And this is the Lone Star Cajun Podcast, and we're here for episode number 5. So I'm glad we're finally there. Let's do a quick topic preview, if we can do that real quick. Got some interesting things on the docket today. We've got, of course, we're going to talk about COVID-19, and that's, of course, the novel coronavirus, not to be confused with Colorado Video 19. That's obviously a film that we could never show on this podcast. Our second topic is going to be a quick book club review. It's going to be a new section we're going to be adding here occasionally. So we're going to do a book club review. Also, we're going to talk about a winning formula regarding baseball, that I have crafted and that I believe will win an excessive amount of baseball games if implemented correctly. And then we're going to talk about centenarians, those old, well, not old, they are old, but those people that just make it over triple digits, you know what I'm saying? And then finally we're going to talk about our Twitter topic poll winner of the week, which was Disney World. So this is the Lone Star Cajun Podcast, and let's just get into it. Okay. Well, let's just go. Topic number 1 is COVID-19. That's the novel coronavirus. It's been reclassified officially as COVID-19. And this virus originated in China, a city called Wuhan, which has over 13 million people. The city is of scale to a city like New York City. And this virus spread there. I don't, they're not completely positive what its original source was. They have a lot of speculations, but it really hit Wuhan particularly hard in January, and the entire city went under a massive lockdown. And yeah, it's not good. It's not a positive thing. I believe the current estimates for fatality rate is around 3.5%, and the flu's around 1%, are a little bit under. So it's seeming to be a little bit more deadly than the flu, but not as transmissible. So that seems to be good. But it's just everywhere. It's not a good thing. And as I said, it started in Wuhan, China. The city went under lockdown, but it's quickly spread to many provinces of China, and it's now effectively spreading around the world. And millions of people are possibly going to become affected, and that's not good. It does seem to be targeting, as far as severe results, elderly people or people with pre-existing conditions. Children 9 and under are largely being untouched by the disease, which is great because, as you can imagine, this category of people is the most presumable to spread a disease rapidly because they touch everything. And it's now in the United States. They've seen a surge of an increase in patients recently, and some community spread. And we're just trying to contain it best we can, and just try not to panic. I think that's one of the most important things you can do is just to not panic. Panic usually never goes well for anything, and I would say just be calm and listen to your healthcare providers. Listen to, there's a sense of I feel like of fear being peddled in the media about this, and I'm not sure why. I really don't have the answers to that, because I'll admit myself, when I first heard about the disease in early January, I succumbed to some of that fear. I was afraid, but I realized that there's some fear peddling going on in the media, and I don't really know why that is. I don't really know what that would. I mean, I guess to sell products and get views, and it's just crummy, Feels kind of crummy. But anyway, lots of things are flying off the shelves, and things like Germ-X and Kleenex and canned foods, and particularly these protective masks, which they're saying now to please stop buying, because there are inevitably going to be global shortages, and they're saying that civilians wearing these masks, and by civilians I mean non-healthcare workers, wearing these masks is actually not doing a considerable amount to prevent the spread of the disease. Right now, they're thinking that the main spread is in viral droplets. So that's, in other words, from the mouth, so being in very close proximity to someone, not necessarily as much from touch. So I recommend, you wash your hands, 30 seconds, wash, get a good wash in there, wash them multiple times a day, bring some Germ-X if you can, and just avoid going into any hugely populated areas, But yeah, they say to stop buying these masks because the healthcare workers are the ones who really need them, and if we have a shortage, that's not going to be good for them. So associated with COVID-19 is our Weird News of the Week. Weird News of the Week is brought to you by Anchor, who is sponsoring the podcast. Some weird news regarding this. So Tinder released a statement just this past week regarding COVID-19, saying that they recommend that their partners or people who are using the app, Tinder, if you don't know, is a dating app, just take an extra caution in meeting with people because of the COVID-19. And when something is starting to affect Tinder, and Tinder is starting to get worried. Tinder doesn't get worried easily. You know how many shady things go on Tinder? If Tinder is worried, then man, this is serious. So they've recommended to their patrons to be cautious in meeting people and going places to meet people and things of that nature because of the virus. So I thought that was pretty wild, as wild things go. All right, so topic 2 for the day. We're gonna do a segment, a news segment that I'm excited to begin here, and that segment is book club. So I'm a pretty regular reader of books and things of that nature. And I'll say that we've got our first book to review. So our first book we're going to review is Genghis Khan. That's the title, Genghis Khan. It's a New York Times bestseller by author Jack Weatherford. So Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World. So let me just read you the pull-up real quick. The Mongol army led by Genghis Khan subjugated more lands and people in 25 years than the Romans did in 400. In nearly every country the Mongols conquered, they brought an unprecedented rise in cultural communication, expanded trade, and a blossoming of civilization. Vastly more progressive than his European or Asian counterparts, Genghis Khan abolished torture, granted universal religious freedom, and smashed feudal systems of aristocratic privilege. From the story of his rise through the tribal culture to the explosion of civilization that the Mongol Empire unleashed. This brilliant work of revisionist history is nothing less than the epic story of how the modern world was made. Wow, that is some implications for our guy Genghis Khan. As you can see, he's wearing a very ethnic outfit here. Yeah, I read this book over the summer, and I'm definitely someone I'm very interested in history and historical facts and data. And yeah, I picked up this book, and I thought I would read it. As he mentioned, it kind of chronicles the life of Genghis Khan. Now, Genghis Khan was a young man with a very nice mustache who was born in Mongolia. And you can see he has this very ornate onion on his head. Anyway, he was born in the country of Mongolia into a kind of a feudal tribalistic culture, and he just had a big come up, if you will. He sort of gained power through a number of lucrative and kind of brute strength maneuvers, and eventually he was a tribal leader, and eventually he unified his entire country and became sort of the Khan, which in their culture means king, essentially. And he had a really rough life growing up. The tribal culture in which he grew up in was rough. It's kind of a toughest man wins type of deal. There was constantly people, running up in there and pillaging. I mean, could you imagine just sitting in your neighborhood and you get a call from your neighborhood watch, and they're like, "Hey, the Japanese are back," and then you gotta go grab your sword, get on your horse, and fight. That would be annoying. And anyway, he came up and became a tribal leader, and he kind of proclaimed himself the king of the Mongols, and he led a number of crusades to try to conquer a large part of Western Asia, Eastern Asia, and almost spanning to Europe, some of Europe, really. And he was a great conqueror. He seemed to be a very motivated man, and I'll say this book does a great job of kind of depicting his life, and kind of, some of the things you read in here were crazy. For example, when he died, and no one is certain how he died per se. There's a lot of rumors, but it's when he died. He basically had a caravan with him, and he was not in Mongolia at the time, and he died, and he had another caravan come, and they murdered the caravan that was with him. Then this caravan takes his body back to Mongolia to a burial site, and like halfway there, yeah, big time craziness. So they get to the burial site, that caravan is murdered. So nobody knows where he was buried, effectively, is the point of all that. So like 100 people had to die to not know where he was buried. Well, they know where he was buried today, so I guess I feel sorry for those people. Yeah, man. So this book is very detailed. This young man, Jack Weatherford, traveled to Mongolia and was there for quite some time. Did a lot of extensive research on him, and he was an interesting person. I'll say that. I will say that. So, that has been our book club section of the week. And, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do an ad real quick. So, our sponsor for this podcast is, again, Anchor. Anchor is an easy and free way to listen to your podcast, and a good, easy way to host your podcast and get it on multiple platforms. You can visit my Anchor homepage link in the description for this video, where you can access my podcast in an audio format if you'd rather that. You can listen to it on Anchor itself. You can listen to it on Spotify and a number of other podcast hosting sources. So Anchor is our sponsor again this week. Okay, so let's talk about my baseball winning formula. So I was at a college baseball game the other day, and I'm just sitting there and my mind begins to wander. And this idea strikes me. Is it just like a clearing in the sky? And the idea is this. So let's say I had a son, which I don't, but let's say I did. I'm going to take him from whatever age a normal parent would start. Well, not normal, maybe a parent who's like really into sports would start training their son. Let's just check this out. How old to start baseball training? Let's see what this says. 5 to 7, 4. We'll say 4. Let's say 4. So from 4 years old, I take my son, and I'm going to teach him baseball. But I'm going to teach him baseball in a very unique way. I'm going to teach my son not how to pitch, not really how to throw, not really how to catch, which you would think would be the 3 pillars of baseball, which maybe they are, but I'm going to teach him how to foul off balls backwards. I'm going to ensure that he fouls them off backwards. And from 4 years old until he starts playing organized baseball, so let's say that's at school, let's say 7th grade, so let's say 11, 12. So I'm not good at math, let's say 8 years roughly. I'm going to train him solely, let's say an hour at least a day, maybe weekends off, if he's good. We're going to work on specifically fouling baseballs. After 8 years of just learning how to foul a baseball, he'll become a master of the foul. He will be impeccable at knowing how to foul off a baseball. Now, I know you're like, where is he going with this? This is ridiculous. Just hold on. So he starts playing organized baseball. I talk to the coach. Coach, I've been training this kid for 8 years. He's a master at fouling off pitches. That's all he knows. But you throw him 50 pitches and he'll foul off 50 pitches back. You hear me? You give him 100 pitches, he'll foul 100 pitches back in a row. He's a master at fouling pitches. Think about it. Think about when you watch a baseball game and a batter is in the box and he's just trying to fight off the count, and he's just getting a piece of the ball. Not nearly as hard as actually trying to hit the ball in play. You can get a piece of the ball. Those major league players, they can get a piece of the ball when they want. So for 8 years, if I train him just to get a piece of the ball, he's going to get a piece of the ball. So, I tell coach my plan. Maybe coach doesn't listen to my plan. I have him fired. And I become the coach. And I'm a coach now. To make a long story short, my boy makes state in baseball. All first team, state. Our team wins state in baseball. He has a scholarship from 4 of the top 10 baseball universities. And he picks one. And he goes there. And we win the College World Series. And then he gets drafted. Top 10. I haven't even told you my plan yet. He goes to the Astros. Why not? They win the World Series 2 out of 3 years. No, they're not cheating. Oh, I shouldn't have used the Astros. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, Next 2 out of the 3 years that he's on the team, World Series. He's MVP. He got through all of this because of my genius plan. Since high school, he will be the team's leadoff hitter. My team. He will be our leadoff hitter. And he will completely erase your starting pitcher. Your starting pitcher will be done. Your starting pitcher will throw 100 pitches, and my boy will foul off all of them. There goes your starting pitcher. And you want to play games? You want to start some other slum dog? Because you think that's smart? Okay. Well, you went into your bullpen, so we're going to get rid of him. I will completely erase a team's starting pitcher. Think about it. If you trained a kid from 4 years old for the rest of his life to just how to foul off a pitch, unstoppable. So I had that epiphany the other day, and I thought I would share that with you all. That idea is copyrighted in my brain, so no one take that idea. Okay, well, topic number 4. We got to talk about those triple digits. Those. Ooh, sorry, I was just mimicking. They're very tired all the time. Centenarians. The 100s and over. They keep it 100 and over. People that have lived 100+ years. A century. Hence the name. And that is insane to me. That is insane to think that someone right now, let's say they became a centenarian this year. Let's say they were 100. They're going to be 100 in 2020. And they could have been born in 1920, which means they were my age and World War II wasn't even started yet. And they're alive now in 2020. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I read an interesting article about centenarians that kind of talked about a study that was being done to figure out what's something that they all have in common. I mean, they're so majestical and hard to find. It's like finding a unicorn, but they're out there. And an article in which a research group is trying to find out if there's anything that each of them have in common that's sort of enabled them to live over 100 years. And it's been hard to find sufficient data because there's not a lot tying them together. For example, one might be overweight, one might not. One might be a chain smoker, one might not. One might be have a peg leg, one might not. One might have had pre-existing health conditions, one might have not. One might have 10 siblings, one might be an only child. There's so many different factors, and it's really hard to find a variable. But it seems that in this study, they've sort of found one idealistic principle or set or skill set that they all seem to have in common. And that skill set is in stress response. So the linkage is that, these centenarians all respond to stressful situations in a very similar manner, and that manner is in calm. So when they undergo something that is very stressful, it doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother them nearly as much as it bothers someone else. They can be in the situation, understand what's going on, understand that something might be challenging, and they can just say, okay, I get it. Now, they're not sure if this was a trait from early on. I could definitely see how the case could be made that it was definitely a learned trait, because if you live 100 years, what is really going to bother you anymore? I mean, you've lived 100 years. You beat the average man or woman by, close to 20 years. And, I mean, what's really going to worry you anymore? You lived 100 years. And, but anyway, they all seem to respond to stress in a very unique and similar way, which I think is a useful tool we could all pick up on. I think when we get in stressful situations, sometimes things can really build up, and that's one thing to do, is just to limit your stress. But we just respond. We get someone like me, I'm better. I'm getting better about it, but I just would get so tense and so worked up, and it would give me anxiety or panic attacks, or whatever, what have you. But I've gotten a lot better about things. Don't really bother me as much. I'm just relaxed. I'm just, hey man, as long as I'm kicking, as long as I'm here, as long as I can make this podcast and share it with you guys and do my thing, I'm good, man. I'm so happy, and I'm happy that I'm doing what I want to do. And hey, that's all I can say, man. So just trying to limit your stress, and also limit the way in which it affects you. Try to be calm, and try to just kind of ride it out, So anyway, I thought that was a very interesting take on centenarians. So our final topic of today is our Twitter poll topic, and I just want to remind you guys that we do a weekly Twitter poll on our Twitter at Cajun Lone. That link is, of course, in the channel description. You'll see the Twitter icon, and we do a weekly poll for our listeners. You can go to Twitter, and you can. I'll have 2 topics listed weekly. Sometime I usually post it. Usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, one of those days, and it'll be open until the Friday. And I give you guys a couple topics and let you vote on them, and I put in that topic. If you haven't listened to us before, you didn't know that, and now you do. So please go vote if you can for our the next time we have a topic poll. But anyway, our competition this week was our winner was Disney World, and really it's more specific than that. Really, I want to know. There's a debate, I think, in some circles, is if Disney World is for adults. And I would say to that question a resounding yes. Disney World is 100% for kids, but also for adults. Disney World is one of my favorite places in the entire world. I love being there. I'm happier when I'm there. I love the food. I love the rides. I love everything about it, really. I'm definitely a geek about Disney World, and I share that with a lot of my family. But I just saw that kind of question, and I definitely wanted to talk about it. Absolutely, it's for adults. I mean, you have effectively a whole park downtown. Disney Springs. Now it was downtown Disney. That's essentially a couple comedy clubs, fancy restaurants, and some bars. It's essentially a park made for adults, that particular one at least. And you can definitely enjoy Disney World as an adult, and you should be proud of that, man. Disney World is great. I love Disney World, and I just wanted to give Disney World a little bit of a shine, because I was going through Twitter today and I saw that question, and I just felt the need to answer that on with you guys, that 100% Disney World can and will and should be enjoyed by adults. So that's been our topics for the day, and I mentioned it on my personal channel, which you should check out. That channel is Christian Thibodeau, and that is a linked channel, so you can see that in my this channel's homepage. And I have 2 videos up on my personal channel. The first video is kind of a synopsis of the goals I'm putting together for my weight loss journey, and the second video is a more specific look into my diet. So please head over to my personal channel, check that out, and I hope you enjoy that. But I did mention on that channel that I'm going on a trip this coming week, which is my spring break, and I'm going to New York City and Washington, D.C. So I've never been to New York. I've been to Washington before, so I'm very excited to go see New York. And I'm going to try to put a vlog together of my New York trip, which I think will be very cool. There will not be a podcast this coming week. So we'll have a week off because I'm going on that vacation. But the following week, we will be back. So there will be no Twitter poll this coming week. So you don't have to worry about going and voting for that. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, so check out my personal channel. Check us out on Twitter at Cajun Lone. Check us out on Instagram, Lone Star Cajun Podcast. Give both of those a follow. And you can get up-to-date information about us there. You can get it from channel description links here. Also, again, Anchor is our sponsor. So you can go to Anchor. I'll leave my channel link again under this podcast. Wow, that was really loud. And you can go to my homepage. You can listen to my podcast right there on Anchor, on Spotify if you prefer, and a number of other podcasting home bases which you may choose to listen to. I do have some big news. So the podcast that we return, we're going to do a special double segment, which is going to be Food Wars. I'm very excited about that, which is going to be Munchie March Madness, which is going to be essentially we're going to do a bracket with fast food, and we're going to put that together, and we're going to go ahead and we're gonna try to crown the best fast food. We're gonna do that in categories. So we'll have categories like chicken, burgers, sandwiches, pizza, that kind of thing, and we're gonna put that together. So I'm very excited about Munchie March Madness. That'll be very fun. We'll advertise that. That'll be on our next podcast in 2 weeks. And I do have a couple new sponsor things in the works. I'm not ready to announce those yet, but I'm very excited to say that we do have some fun things coming, and some fun things coming merchandise-wise. So this has been the Lone Star Cajun Podcast, episode number 5, and thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys later.